I almost can't believe it, but it is time once again to give my AFC World Cup qualifying predictions, this time for the November window. And this video specifically, as you guys probably know because you clicked on it and I assume you read the title, this is going to be all about Group A. Before I go through these games one by one and give you guys my pre-match analysis and my totally expert opinion on how I think these games are going to play out, if you guys could drop the video a like and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If there's one upset that you see from this window of Asian World Cup qualifying, I would love to hear what the audience thinks. And lastly, if you like videos about Asian football, I would ask you now to hit subscribe because that's one of the main content pieces here on Deadball TV. And at least me personally, I think it's the best channel on YouTube covering Asian football, but I'm a little biased, admittedly. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. First match, Qatar versus Uzbekistan in Qatar. All right, Qatar, this is it, bro. Get a result here, and you can prove that the Asian Cup was not just a purple patch. You could potentially shut up the thousands or maybe even the millions of Qatar haters online that say you boys are trash. Too bad for Qatar, though. It's Uzbek o'clock, aka it might be time for yet another L. Now, if the Uzbeks get a win here, they're pretty much qualified. They'll be on 13 points, and I don't see anybody else in Group A catching them. That being said, I expect this to be an incredibly pragmatic match from Qatar and Uzbekistan because that's pretty much how they played in every single game in round 3 so far. So why change now, especially going away to the Asian Cup champions? I think this is going to be a pretty defensive performance we see here from the White Wolves. Now, I hope that they come out guns blazing, play a 3-4-3 or something and just go for it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Now, the hope here for neutrals in this match is that Qatar have allowed 10 goals through 4 games. So does that fragility at the back, compounded by the fact that Barsham might be the worst goalkeeper in round 3 so far, does that mean that we're going to see several goals from Uzbekistan and maybe even some goals from Qatar as well? Could we see a high-scoring match? I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Fun fact, in AFC World Cup qualifying, these teams have met 8 times, which means they've been together, I guess, 5 times now in World Cup qualifying, which is pretty crazy. Uzbekistan have 6 wins, Qatar have 1 win, and there's been 1 draw. So it's been pretty dominant from Uzbekistan. These 2 teams were last grouped together during the 2018 cycle, and Uzbekistan did the double. And if you guys watch Deadball TV or know anything about Uzbekistan whatsoever, you know that this team is incredibly difficult to beat. In fact, Uzbekistan's last loss was September 2023 when they lost to the U.S. men's national team in a friendly. That was 14 months ago, by the way. I'm pretty sure since 2022, Uzbekistan have 4 losses, which is just absolutely mental. And that's exactly why in my latest power rankings video for the AFC, I had Uzbekistan in the top 5. Now, to go higher than that, I need Uzbekistan to win this game, because I still think Uzbekistan is searching for a win against one of the powerhouses in Asia. But I digress. In this match, Qatar absolutely need the 3 points. I fully expect them to come out here and play with a lot of urgency. And I think that urgency will give them a bit of a boost in the attack, but I think it will also leave them susceptible defensively. Uzbekistan have the players to dominate this match in the midfield, but again, I just don't know if they're going to approach the match that way. I struggled more with my prediction for this game than any other match from Group A. My heart is telling me that Uzbekistan are going to win this one 2-1, or at least win by 1 goal, because they're the better team, they're in better form, and they have a better head-to-head record. But my 4,000 ball IQ brain is telling me this is going to be a draw somehow. And the demon side of me is telling me that Qatar are going to win this match 2-1. And I don't know if that's because Qatar's playing at home, or the fact that they need the 3 points more than Uzbekistan needs the 3 points, or the fact that they have the best offensive player in the match in Akram Afif. But I just wouldn't be shocked if Qatar got a historic win here. And I say historic because historically they lose to Uzbekistan, not because beating Uzbekistan at home is like an earth-shattering result for the Qataris. So I need you guys to let me know how you think this match is going to play down below in the comments, because I keep going back and forth constantly. Safe money is definitely on the Uzbeks, but I just wouldn't be shocked if Qatar win this game. Next up, we have UAE versus Kyrgyzstan in Abu Dhabi. Now, speaking of a team who needs a win, the UAE cannot afford to drop points here. I've been very critical of this side pre-Asian Cup. I think they've been so mid, it's almost painful. It actually hurts me to cover this team physically and emotionally. And I think Paolo Bento is just not an inspiring figure whatsoever. Now, the UAE's defensive record, I think, is going to be enough ultimately to get a result in this game. Checking the stats, they have not allowed more than 1 goal in a game since they lost 2-1 to Iran in the group stage of the Asian Cup. That was 10 matches ago, and that is impressive. Unfortunately, going the other way, the team is as blunt as a hammer. Kyrgyzstan had one of their best performances I've ever seen when they beat North Korea at home last window, but I still think away, they're pretty bad. Let's not forget that they got bodied 3-1 by Qatar, a absolutely crisis mode Qatar right before the North Korea game. Like, this side is super beatable. There's no other way to say it. I don't have a stat, but I wouldn't be shocked if they have more L's in the last 10 games than any other team in round 3. Kyrgyzstan, they really just want to draw here, so I expect them to come out, make it super defensive, and I'm not sure this game is going to be particularly exciting. I think Paulo Bento has been a bare minimum merchant since he was appointed as the UAE manager, so I'm kind of predicting a 1-0 victory for the UAE. I do think they're going to get it done. I don't think it's going to be fun, though. They're without Harib Suhail, who was not called up for some reason. I really don't know why that is, but according to the official UAE Instagram, he was not included in the squad. He's been their best player, arguably, in round 3 so far, so that's a big deal. Maybe if we're lucky, we get a 2-1 here, but I think that's highly unlikely. Next up, we have North Korea versus Iran in Laos, and this is a crazy stat, right? These teams have played each other 22 times, and North Korea has never won. They have 0 wins in 22 matches against Iran. Do they make history today? Absolutely hell no. They're not going to do that. They might make it a little feisty. I think they might get a goal against Iran, but I think that's about as good as the North Koreans are going to get here. And, you know, you guys know I'm pretty bullish on North Korea. I'm a pretty big North Korean simp. I think that this team is very fun to watch, and I like that they just kind of throw caution to the wind, right? But they still don't really beat good teams. You know, I think they've gotten draws against Qatar, obviously. They've gotten draws with UAE. But if we're talking dubs, I was trying to look at the history books, right? I had to dust it off and try to see when the last really, really good North Korean victory was. And I had to go back to 2016, y'all. And that was when they beat Iraq 1-0. And I'm not even sure how good Iraq was back in 2016 versus today. Outside of that, they don't really have much in terms of, like, mind-blowing results, you know, mind-blowing victories. A lot of good draws in here, but no good wins. And we know that Iran don't lose games. I don't think they lose in Laos. Now, if this match was in Pyongyang, then maybe the hipster in me would have a draw or something like that. But in a neutral venue, Iran are just too strong, man. We saw this against Uzbekistan. We've seen this against pretty much everybody except England at the World Cup, that these boys are really, really tough to take down. A draw here for North Korea would be absolutely insane. How I kind of see this match playing out is Iran get out of here with a 2-0 win, something like that. Somebody scores a header, and they have another good goal from open play. And North Korea have 2 to 3 pretty scary moments for Iran where they kind of test the goalkeeper, but I'm not really sure they're going to put the ball in the back of the net. I would expect this to be a very fun match. I am going to be watching this match. I don't know if I'll go live for it, but I will be watching it. Maybe we get a 3-1, something like that, but I think in the end, it's going to be pretty comfortable for Iran. Moving on to the next match day, we have UAE versus Qatar in UAE. So we're going to have a potential revenge match for Qatar, having to make amends for losing 3-1 at home in the very first match day of round 3. And this is also a very, very serious rivalry game, and we love those here at Deadball TV. So drop a like on the video. I think the UAE's best moments of footy in qualifying so far was in the second half in that Qatar match. That's really the only time that they've looked clinical, and if you go back and watch all 3 of their goals, they're all pretty much golazos in that game. Maybe this is a case of one of those matchups where Paulo Bento just knows how to beat Qatar with his current players. Everybody's got a bogey team. Maybe the UAE is going to prove to be that for Qatar if they do the double here. This fixture historically always brings a lot of goals, and I don't really think this is going to be any different. I don't expect a super lopsided victory either way, but if this somehow ends up being a 0-0 draw, I mean, I might have to delete the channel. And what I love about this match in particular is both teams really, really need to win, especially if they want to catch Uzbekistan or Iran. You cannot keep drawing, you know, and depending on how round 5 plays out, both teams could be in crisis mode here, because maybe Kyrgyzstan got a result, maybe North Korea got a result, and the pressure is really turned up on these two teams. I kind of feel this is going to be a 2-2, leaning the UAE just slightly. But again, kind of what I said to Uzbekistan, I wouldn't be surprised if Qatar just pull a rabbit out of the hat here again, especially with some of the omissions from the UAE squad. and get a result here in an absolute shootout. But that Qatari back line against the pace of this UAE front four, I think it could be trouble. Next up, we have Kyrgyzstan versus Iran in Bishkek, and I think this is a fascinating match just to see how Iran perform at this venue, because I think it is a real XP boost for the Kyrgyz Republic every time they get to play here. I mean, outside of Bishkek, very beatable side, not really that inspiring, but for some reason, whenever they come to the city, whenever they got the fans behind them, they can look pretty tough, and I think they will make it tough on Iran. But I don't think they have enough tools to bring down the Persian Empire, you know what I'm saying? A win here for Kyrgyzstan would be no doubt the biggest victory in their national team history and an absolute calamity for Iran. Looking at the stats, Iran have only conceded 1 goal through 4 games. I don't really think they'll concede against North Korea, so they'll come in here on 1 goal conceded from 5 matches, potentially. Can Kyrgyzstan get a goal at home? They did lose a 3-2 shootout against Uzbekistan. Yes, I think they could, but I do not think they can stop Iran's attack. Kyrgyzstan have scored at least 1 goal in their last 5 matches at home. I do think they will make Iran sweat at different points of this match, but in the end, I'm kind of thinking a 2-0 or 2-1 for Iran. And lastly, we have North Korea versus Uzbekistan in Laos. Now, Uzbekistan won the home leg 1-0, in which they played pretty good in the first half and then were absolutely shocking in the second half. And if not for a Korean penalty miss, they could have dropped points at home in Tashkent. Sometimes I just like to think about, like, what would have happened if Uzbekistan and North Korea drew in match day 1? How would that have changed the fortunes of the group? Would it look the exact same today? I really don't know. I said it earlier that I absolutely love watching this North Korean side that just throws caution to the wind and just attacks. But again, I just don't see them taking down a team as big as Uzbekistan. Namely, I don't see Uzbekistan surrendering that many chances against North Korea, and I'm going to choose to believe that Katanich, who I hope is going to be on the sideline, but if it's an assistant coach, I don't think they'll approach the game the same way they did in the second half against North Korea. I think that was probably a learning experience for them, and I think they're going to treat North Korea with a little bit more respect this time around. And again, the fact that this game is not in Pyongyang is a massive L for North Korea, because I am fully confident that they would have beaten at least 2 teams in Group A if they got to play the home matches in Pyongyang. As high-flying as North Korea's offense is, they're still not a clinical side. You can't really trust them to put the ball in the back of the net, even in arguably their best performance against Qatar down a man. You look at the goals, and those are like Puskas nominee goals. Are they really going to be able to recreate that, or was that a flash in the pan? Was that a 1 in a million moment for North Korea? We are going to find that out in this window, because they got the 2 toughest opponents. So if they even get 2 goals from these 2 matches, I don't even care if they lose both of them. That's impressive to me, because not a lot of teams score against Iran and not a lot of teams score against Uzbekistan. So that's kind of the benchmark for me. That's the challenge for me for North Korea. Now, the actual prediction for this match, I'm thinking Uzbekistan win it by 1. I don't know if that's a 1-0 or a 2-1, but I think they're going to get the job done. Now, North Korea have a much higher upset probability against Uzbekistan than they do against Iran. I think Iran's going to be a loss, but I think they could maybe get a 1-1 here or a 2-2, just because, who knows, they might score another free kick. They might get another penalty and actually score it this time. Maybe Uzbekistan down tools again in the second half. I'm curious to see how it plays out. I do think it's going to be a competitive match, but I don't think that North Korea is going to be the team to beat Uzbekistan, especially when Iran can't even do it 3 times in a row. Isn't it going to be North Korea? They have a shot, but it's just very unlikely. And those are my predictions for Group A in the November qualifying window. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, again, another reminder to please drop the video a like, hit subscribe so you do not miss any Asian footy content here on Deadball TV. I'm talking match analysis, I'm talking power rankings, live streams, any other big topics that I feel like making here on the channel. I think you guys are going to enjoy those, so stick around. Let me know what you think down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.